Hello, hello, hello. I have a question for you. Have you ever felt completely lost? You know, seeking purposeful direction that could and should propel your mission within your divine journey to that next level, but still it hasn't happened. Well, my name is Lauren Michaels Harris, and I'm the founder of P3, the Journey Series. People come to me because they're wounded. Many are scared, and even there are those who are bruised simply because they feel that they are increasingly, for whatever reason, losing their ability to dream. Now, this P3 program is not for a person who's just looking to start a business, no, but rather for those of you out there who have been on your journey and you've been navigating within your divine purpose, but you still desire to elevate to that level that you have not reached yet. If this is appealing, if this describes you, then I want to have a chat with you. I want to hear your story. So use the link below to get registered for your free seat at P3, the Journey Series. And let's get started. One story at a time. I'll see you inside. Click the link.
Hi, I'm Robert A. Lane with Robert Lane Coaching. I'm an audiobook coach and producer, and I specialize in helping nonfiction authors turn their book into an audiobook that they narrate themselves and get them published on Audible, Amazon, and Apple Books in 6 weeks. Now, I was looking to hire a coach for a couple of reasons. One is to expand my marketing strategies so I can scale my business and have more clients on a more consistent basis. And the other thing that I wanted to do is book speaking engagements from big corporations to small businesses to communities to TEDx, you name it.
Before you get it, baby, show me your soul. And honey, I'll show you mine. I'll show you mine. Boy, I'm standing right here holding up a sign, shamelessly displaying my state of mind. You walk right past me, pretending like you don't see what's yours for the taking tonight.
Can you hear that? Duncan, you're backstage. Did you hear that bell and me? I didn't hear a sound for the show opener, did y'all? I didn't hear anything. It was dead silent. Okay, let me explain. Hold on. I'm watching to see. Okay, I see it's going on. Oh, wait. Wait. Oh. Okay. It looks like it's... What in the world? Okay, I guess you guys could hear it. How come I couldn't hear it? That was weird. Okay, I'm on a new platform. First day back, year number 8, which means I'm 8 years older. It's like, I feel like it was 8 years ago. Remember that, you guys? First of all, where are my manners? Welcome to 2024. All things new, new you, new me, new us, new we. And anyway, 8 years ago around this time, I think it was really around the 20th of January, 8 years ago, when I stubbed my toe that fateful morning and cussed from 7 a.m. until about 2:30 in the afternoon because I thought the toe was broken off. It hurt that bad. When I did it, I was like, I won't even look because I know the toe's over there and my foot's over here. That's how bad I thought it was. So I asked the universe, I asked God, I asked anything that could help me do better, to show me and bring me something to help me do better. And they said, sit down, open your phone, go live, and call it Bathrobe Moments. And I've been doing it 8 years, every day, 50 weeks a year, Monday through Friday, ever since. And so I'm so grateful and honored to be here. We've come a long way together, y'all. So today, first show of the new year that is live. I'm so excited. Bear with all the little faux pas, if you will, that I've got to experience getting readjusted to this new platform. But here we go. So today, we're starting off with an international guest. He's from the UK, from Abingdon, Oxfordshire. I don't know why I want to try to do an accent when I know, Lord Jesus, I can't. But hey, got to start somewhere. At least I didn't sound like I was talking from the South. I can do that one. Duncan is here today. Not to be confused with the donuts. Although I am drinking some Dunkin' Donuts coffee right now. What are the odds? And so anyway, Duncan is here. I love it. I'm gonna just get him in here because there's a lot to talk about, but I love the title of his new book and I love why he wrote it and what it's about. So get ready. Put your hearts on the screen. It's our way of saying welcome virtually. And let's get Duncan in here. Our first guest of 2024. Here he comes. Okay, that kind of worked. It was a little late, but they said keep track. Right? Where are my notes?
Just pretend you meant for it all to be like that. That's what I do.
Ugh. Well, but the thing about it is, because it's a new platform and they're working things out, I don't know if it's them or if it's me. So I'm writing everything down. So I'm probably telling on myself more than anything. How are you, Duncan? Say your middle name.
It's Bhaskaran, Duncan Bhaskaran Brown.
Duncan Bhaskaran Brown.
Yeah, from Oxfordshire.
That's a lot. So, but that's how you all are over there.
yeah. So it's the middle bit, the Bhaskaran bit, is actually my wife's name, and her family's from India. So it's a truly multicultural show today.
Okay. Well, clearly she's a little rebel in and of herself, because I doubt very well. I don't want to say, because we shouldn't assume that it was not an arranged marriage.
Well, it was. That's the really bizarre thing. Yeah. So it was arranged by my mum, though, which really surprised her. So my beautiful wife started working at the same place as my mum, and she set us up. So yeah, we did have an arranged marriage.
There was no hope for either one of you once your mom got involved.
None at all.
You already know. She's like, oh, what's your wife's name? What's her first name?
Her first name is Srija.
So I'm sure your mom's like, so Srija, got any men in your life? You do? Well, not for long. I got the guy for you. Well, I'm so excited. How exciting. What's your mom's name so we can say shout out to her?
My mum's name is, confusingly, Judith Penrose Brown.
I asked for it. There you go. Well, I'm glad you're here. Now, we're going to talk. Well, set it up for us. Why don't you? Well, I'm going to get out for about a minute. I like to give our guests a chance to kind of create a vibe of their own with the audience. So go ahead, set it up. Tell us a little bit about you, origin story. Then I'm going to come back. We're going to get started. We're going to start from the origin story, moving all the way into the work you do today, the book you have out, the first book, and everything else. So get started. Give them a little go like this. Let them just a little taste of Duncan Bhaskaran Brown. Here you go. Oh, you take it away.
Very good. So I didn't have a difficult childhood. Not really, not by a lot of people's definition, but I really did not get on with school. They wanted me to turn up and be neat and tidy and dress in a certain way, and that just is not me. So I didn't really get on with my teachers. Found a lot of tension growing up, and I started off dealing with that tension by the most socially acceptable way for a 9-year-old to deal with their stress. That is by eating an awful lot of chocolate, and that kind of progressed a little bit. And when I got to my teens, I realized there was something that was a little bit more effective than chocolate, and that was alcohol. So I started hammering that particular nail. And to start off with, it was all good fun, wasn't it? It was all very social, just me and my friends drinking a little bit of alcohol on the weekend, all good stuff. But what happened over time was the amount that I drank increased and the amount of people that I drank with decreased. And after about 20 years, I was sat in my flat on my own, finishing off my second bottle of wine. And that was when I sort of thought, well, maybe it's time to do something about this here drinking.
Okay, so you had been drinking for how long?
So about 20 years.
About 20 years. Okay, so drinking oftentimes resembles, or at least the history of it in our journeys for a lot of people, it looks like a paint strip, if you will, where it has different shades as we go through different seasons. So
Mhm.
because I actually dated someone back in the day. I've only been in two relationships in my adult life, my marriage and this other one. And the other one was, I'm serious, after it I looked up to the, after going through 2 years with an alcoholic, I looked up to the universe. I promise I said this. I was 27, I think, and I said, "Okay, God, universe, whoever's listening, I'm telling you right now, I'll be patient. I'll wait. I don't want ever want to go through that again, and I will wait. I don't care if it's the last 5 minutes of this life. I'll rather have 5 minutes with the right person than another minute with what I've just come out of." And then around 40 something, I looked up and I was like, "Damn, y'all took me seriously when I said that last 5 minutes. It's been a long time." And then before you know it, boom, the perfect person came along and here we are. But I say that because people might say, well, that's a little harsh. Are you being hard on that person? No, because of how it changed me. Duncan, I'm not kidding. I mean, getting up and going out looking for him, and he'd close his flower shop and have saddlebags full of cash and then go to the bar, and I didn't really frequent. I did, but I was a host. I did open mic MCs and stuff, but I didn't go there as a patron. And so you wonder, are they going to make it home? Are they going to kill somebody? Are they going to kill themselves? And it started like this. I'd get up, we had a gated community, and it started by looking out the window. And then when I'd see the Suburban, I'd run and get in the bed. And next thing you know, I was out at the end of the driveway. Next thing you know, I'm in my bathrobe down on the street past the guard shack, out on the regular street, looking up and down the street so I could run home and jump in the bed it was just crazy. So I just say that, and because I say this, I want you to tell us, what were you like? One of those when you were at your worst shade of the paint strip. In other words, what kind of drunk were you?
So I was well. I think I probably am quite reflective and a little bit introverted, in as far as I like to recharge my energy by reflecting and going inside myself. So that was what I became when I was drinking heavily. I became not very communicative. So that put a real strain on relationships,
Oh. So you
because I was
pulled
just
away from people and became more.
exactly, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I mean,
Now,
I'll be
let me ask you something right there, because it was a setup question. I posed it that way, framed it to see if it would upset you or so we could speak to it. I realized in all these interviews I've done and people I've known over the years that have dealt with alcoholism, when they describe whether they were mean, funny, they always say, I was a funny drunk. I loved everybody drunk. I was a mean drunk. But when they say alcoholic, they don't have that connection. I was a funny alcoholic. I was a lovey alcoholic. They only say it and attach it to drunk. And I felt horrible saying, what kind of drunk were you? But I was setting it up. Why are there these two different perceptions of the same world?
well. That is a very interesting question, isn't it? I think it probably speaks to our desire to separate those two concepts. We want to have this sort of idea about alcohol being something that's safe and fun and
It's
enjoyable and
social.
yeah, social, absolutely. But and then we want to kind of like not think about people who become dependent, people who become alcoholics, people who ruin their relationships, their businesses, their driving licenses. We want to disconnect those two things.
Yeah.
And to be fair, it's not really our fault. That is something that the alcohol industry has been very carefully kind of cultivating as an idea for years and years and years. That most people drink normally and happily and have fun, and then there's just a few people who are really ruining it for the rest of us.
So let me ask you, Duncan, did you experience what we hear all the time? I'm a recovering addict, but alcohol was not one of my, drugs of choice, if you will. It's still a social thing, but nonetheless, same county. I lived in that same county. So I wanted to ask you, did you experience what people refer to as a rock bottom?
Yeah, that's another really great question. I mean, kind of, yes, I did. So
Because
my
it's not
wife,
always what people envision.
no, no, no.
I got 8 DUIs, or I hit a family of 4.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Not everybody has that kind of a, almost
No,
take you out kind of experience. Talk about it.
well, for me, it wasn't kind of like one moment on the side of the road or staring into the mirror. It was my wife and I. We were trying to start a family, and she had a miscarriage, and that, obviously that was really hard on her. And I wasn't there to support her. I wasn't there to help her. I wasn't what she needed.
Yeah.
In fact, as I said, what was my response to any kind of emotional pain? It was drink some more and disappear further inside myself, which is absolutely not what she needed. And it got to a head, really, where I mean, I never phrased it exactly like this. I never woke up one morning and wrote in my journal, but it got to the point where it was clear that I had to make a decision between, do I want another drink or do I want to start a family?
Wow.
And thankfully, I made the right call on that one. But what I've observed with the rock bottom thing is most people get to that point where change becomes almost inevitable. They have to face up to it because stuff has got bad. But I am acutely aware that it could have got an awful lot worse. And that's what I try and get across to people. Yeah, you probably haven't hit rock bottom because you've probably still got a job, and maybe you've still got a family, maybe you even still got a driving license. So let's do some change whilst you're there, rather than going all the way down to the basement.
I find this really interesting, and thank you. Seriously, thank you for your vulnerability and just laying it all out there for us. Um, Let me ask you. So when you met your wife, when your mom was, ooh, she the one, you know, did you know back in the catacombs of your deepest spirit, your highest self, did you know that there was an issue with the alcohol? And you know what I'm saying? Because here you go and you get married, boom, 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 and here comes that decision. So she was a big part of getting you where you needed to be who we're looking at on the screen. But to people, a lot of people were like, well, how selfish to drag that poor, innocent, sweet girl into knowing good and well. You know where I'm going. Talk about that piece and the person that could be watching that is dealing with that very thing.
Yeah, so I think when you really get deep down into it, everybody I have ever met who drinks heavily does not enjoy it, and they're prepared to admit that to themselves, given the right set of circumstances. And I think what my wife provided for me was absolutely the right set of circumstances. She never just like laid it on the line and said, right, you have to do this, you must do this, because telling me what to do is usually not the greatest idea. She just kind of gently nudged me in the right direction and pointed out, that change is possible, that we could live a different life, that we could live in a different way. And I'm enormously grateful for the love and the support and the compassion that she gave me, and creating that environment where I felt like I could change.
How interesting that you said that she framed it like that. That we could live in a different, in other words, to let you know, I am your support system and I'm not going anywhere. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's a piece a lot of people don't realize they have, even though they may have it. And there are a lot of people who don't know that they're fulfilling that role. So there's a lot to talk about there. One last question about this particular piece of it. Because of addiction, oftentimes on the other side of addiction, a lot of us who have recovered look back and it really looks like, I know I could not have the husband and life I have today had I still been doing drugs, because that was my lover. That was who had my heart. And so that's what the question was all about. Like, when you met her, did you know? Because it's almost like, did it feel at times like you might be having an affair?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I can point out a lot of things that I did where I was prioritizing, the alcohol over my relationship. That to me now, that is so obvious. I mean, back in the day, yeah,
yes.
yeah, back in the day, not so much. And I think that's one of the real powers of helping people to take that little thought, in the back of their mind that maybe something should change, maybe this isn't the life they want to live, and helping them to see that we are actually all like that, that we all behave that way, and they're not they're not alone, they're not different, they're not special or unique or anything like that.
Yeah.
They are just like the rest of us.
They are. Look, let's because I want to start moving towards your work. So because there it is. There's the origin story that established that you just didn't start talking about what you're going to talk about for the rest of the interview yesterday. And you didn't order the story off of eBay or plagiarize it from somebody else's journey.
Nope. I didn't use ChatGTP either.
You see, good one. Yeah, I got to remember to keep that in there. That's true. Yeah, right. So you lived it. And a lot of us forget after the fact the importance that, every tear we cried created a syllable to the words we now speak healing into the world through. If our tears were books, can you imagine? If our tears were words, can you imagine how many books, how many libraries this universe would need to hold them all? So, but here you are. So at what point, what year did you celebrate 1 year of sobriety?
So I stopped drinking towards the end of May 2015. So, but funnily enough, my daughter was born almost exactly 9 months after I stopped drinking. So it really, it really was for me like.
For all you men with low T.
Yeah, well,
drinking, right?
Yeah, they weren't lying about the sobriety, about the fertility thing, were they? No, absolutely not. So, my first year anniversary was a bit of a blur of diapers and baby food and milk and all of that kind of stuff. I mean, in a good way, but
think about it though, because a lot of people they feel like, boy, all I have is this 1 year chip or this 1 year coin. Because, and let's talk about that, because a lot of places, a lot of people here that said they're told, and when you're in recovery, you get yourself a sponsor and this, that, and the other. And, I'm not taking anything away from anybody. Seriously, Duncan. But for me, I could never go to like NAAA because I couldn't get past the, hi, my name is Lauren and I'm cross addicted or whatever. Because it didn't feel, something about it just didn't work for me. Right. Yeah. But what I'm getting at is this, is people who, they feel like they're told all these things, like, don't get in a relationship until so many years until you're sober. Don't do this. Always go to a meeting 8 times a day, or all these things. Let's just talk about, what process do you use to get up, to get out, and to stay up and stay out?
I've got to totally and utterly agree with you there. I mean, I've met far too many people in the sober community who have swapped certainty for learning, and just to be totally clear, I've met people, from all recovery modalities, who are like that. They get very dogmatic, and I think I understand why they do it. It's because they want to stay sober and they have got a system and they therefore invest themselves in that system so heavily. And if that works for them, great. I am not here to tell them, how they should recover.
Right.
But it would kind of be nice if it flipped both ways, because I think that the truth about recovery is there is only one way for you to recover, and that is the way for you to recover. And I actually can't tell you how to do that. Right. I can walk down the path with you, but I cannot tell you what the path is. I am not your sat nav. So for me, what's been important, so I used kind of cognitive realignment to stop drinking. That's changing your beliefs and managing the thought process, and then from that the actions follow. And that's been enormously important throughout my journey, because it's such a flexible system. You can then start to use it to build good habits, and you can start to use it to remove other kind of problematic ways of
Let's
thinking.
go there for a moment, could we? Because
Sure.
now it's crystal clear. You're like, woo, it's like you got a telescope which can see all the way across the ocean of this because you swam it. You didn't ride it, you swam it. But for the person that's looking and it's like they got cataracts, it's just blurry. They can't see what you just said. They're like, yeah, easy for you to say. It's 8:30 in the morning. I've already had 3 beers.
Yeah.
Seriously. So
Yeah.
So talk about so let's go here. How important in your opinion, Duncan, is it that in order to truly set a plan into motion, you need to find something you believe you could love more than your addiction?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you there. I think meaning and purpose and commitment to a higher ideal is something that's incredibly important, and it's something that comes up in the research that I do quite a lot. I mean, I've interviewed many sober superstars, and one of the things that is very obvious about them is they are committed to something much higher than themselves. A good friend of mine, Nick, is currently rowing the Atlantic. I mean, you might consider that to be crazy.
Is that all?
Yeah.
What about
I know.
I'm just kidding.
When he gets back, I'm going to set him up with a proper challenge. But no, he's done all of these amazing adventure things since he got sober. And I think for him, it's not just about going off and, doing the challenge. It's more about how he can use that as a platform to talk about climate change and to talk about the things that are important to him. So if you look at him, there are layers and layers of purpose and meaning. But I think it kind of gets down a little bit to this sort of chicken and egg kind of thing. It's like, what came first? Was it the meaning and purpose, or was it the sobriety? They build on each other. So yeah, you've got to want something more for your life, or you're just going to keep drinking. But it doesn't have to be as clear and as big and as shining and bright necessarily as Nick's is.
Right.
Is that it builds, it develops. It starts off as a little ember, and as sobriety moves on, you grow it into a bonfire.
Yeah, that's a good point. You don't have to you don't have to row the Atlantic, but you need to begin doing something. It's the ing. See, he's rowing. He's in the process of. If you don't have an ing on something that matters, that you can't stop talking about, you need to keep looking. Because you need to be practicing ing again, something. So let me ask you this. What about, oh shoot, what, it slipped and it was a good one. Oh, doggone it, senior moment be gone. Wait, I'm not kidding. Those things, you laugh now. You just wait. You just wait. I want to, what about this one? Is it, because we're about to turn the corner into the book and the work, both books, okay? Let's talk about this. What about people who say they inherited this? My dad and my grandfather and my grandmama and my aunt and uncles were all alcoholics. How different is it at all? If it is that journey? Well, all of them all journeys are different, but I'm saying as far as the recovery, the good book, or if you would, in your work, do you find a difference between people who generationally inherit this, or so they think, or people who just started on their own?
Yeah, so I do meet people who, there is a long history of alcoholism within their family, and that is hard. And what I've noticed about people like that is they're much more in touch with their dislike of alcohol. I mean, they hate it. They
saw all the bad examples before they took a drink, because they were little ones watching. It's horrible.
Yeah, I mean, of course they hate it. It killed their parents. It ruined their childhood. The thing that we sort of tend to work on is more why you think you love alcohol, and that tends to be very different depending on where people are coming from. But there is always this underlying belief that alcohol is serving them, that alcohol is helping them, and alcohol is beneficial in some way. And that, I think, is the place to start. Everybody I have ever worked with hated drinking. That wasn't enough to motivate them to stop. It was getting to grips with why they were doing it, what they believed the positive benefits they were getting from alcohol was.
It's so hard because you want to give up a lot of other addictions. They're not so celebrated every place you go. Yeah, food addiction, yeah, you could put it there. But when you come to gambling, sex, it's not like people are 24. Every place you look, there they are, gambling on the street, having sex out on the street. You know what I'm saying? Right. Excuse me, but you can't see people doing drugs and drinking right out on the street. So I guess you can see people eating out there too. But anyway, so your book, what was the first book you wrote? And here's another thing. What made you think you had so much authority that you so quick off the wagon? Did you get a pushback from people? You haven't been dry or sober long enough to be writing and talking about it. Who do you think you are? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
talk about this piece how did you get to where you are so quickly? What would you say is responsible for that?
Well, I'm one of those great examples of a very, very slow overnight success. So as I say, I stopped drinking about 8.5 years ago. About 2.5 years after I stopped drinking, I trained with a very successful addiction clinic. And that's where I kind of learned my craft. I delivered hundreds and hundreds of sessions to, thousands of people about addiction. So, that was where I learned the trade, perfected my take on it. So, I love the system that I was working in. It has helped millions of people worldwide. But for me, it wasn't. It was very good at getting people stopped. It wasn't so great at keeping people stopped. And that was the bit that I really wanted to work on, that piece around, right, great, stopping drinking, actually quite easy. I could teach you to do it in an afternoon, but it's staying stopped. That's the real kicker. So that was the obsession that I developed after a year or two of working in this clinic. And, it led me to explore my own story and to really, think about how I'd got to where I'd got to. And that prompted me to write my first book, which was called Get Over Indulgence, which really is just my story. And the way I like to think of it is it's kind of like a little bit of a nudge in the right direction. It just is going to suggest to you that actually change is possible. That, I got myself caught up in a lot of different traps, but I managed to get out.
Like what?
Oh, so I was eating rubbish. I was drinking. I was smoking. I did enough drugs in my time as well. And I also had appalling taste in music. But I've managed... I've managed to stop drinking, stop smoking, stop eating junk food, stop taking drugs, and stop listening to bad music.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wow. So what about this piece? What encouragement would you have for people? I know a lot of people who think that it's just that when people go through a divorce, a lot of them hold on to it because they're wondering what friends are going to leave me and go with him or her. How many are going to stick with me? Same thing when people want to leave an addiction. Because all of your friends, all the people, you've created a world full of the people that do what you do in most cases. Maybe not so much with you because your addiction took you away from people, but most people do it. A lot of people do it anyway to fit in with groups of people. So let's talk about what you know about this, about what if, a husband-wife team are alcoholics and she's like done, but he isn't ready and she doesn't want to stick with me or hit the road. What about that?
That's particularly difficult. I've worked with a few people like that, and the thing is, all you can really do is show them that change is possible and support them, and be gentle. tell them that they must do it and don't point out the bad bits. Learn what is great about being sober and just show them that. You don't even have to ram it down their throat. You just, you have to, well, for want of a better cliche, you have to be the change you want to see in the world, don't you?
There you go.
And, yeah.
So
I
you
think-
think it's possible, Duncan? I'm sorry. Do you think it's possible for a person to start recovery while they're still in a relationship with someone who is in some addiction, even if it's not the same addiction?
Yeah.
And then be a support system for them.
Yeah. I think,
Oh, did you?
if you take that to its logical conclusion, then the truth would be we would only be able to recover in relationships that were perfect. And of course, they do not exist, do they? Everybody has some issues. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna go into my wife's issues in great detail, but she wasn't
Better
perfect.
not unless you got a comfortable sleep number couch. Because that's where you'll be for a couple months.
Very true, very true. But she had struggles. She still has struggles. I still have struggles. Neither of us are perfect, and we just do the best we can to support each other, and that is all you can do. And I know people can recover in relationships that are less than perfect, that you can recover with a partner who is drinking. I know that because I can give you examples of people that have done that. I can give you examples of people who have stopped drinking and maybe gone 2 or 3 years before their partner finally catches up. And when they do catch up, when they do stop drinking, it becomes wonderful and it becomes brilliant. But, what they realize is there is enough in the relationship that they're going to give it the time it deserves so that they come round. That said, that's not always true. Sometimes you have to walk away. You were talking a bit about friends, and obviously that's something that comes up an awful lot. Sure. And my own experience was that, yes, I absolutely had friends who were drinking buddies. They existed solely to make me feel good about my drinking. I'd hang around with people who were just terrible so that I could look in the mirror and go, yeah, but at least
I'm not him.
Yeah.
Look at Bob. You know what I'm saying, right?
Bob wasn't that bad. I'm talking about Dave. Dave was terrible.
Was he?
Yeah, still is. Anyway, so
poor Dave.
Actually, I know a load of people called Dave, so I'm now in trouble. But there were some people who were like that. The only thing that we had in common was alcohol. Yeah. So when I stopped drinking, I stopped returning their calls. But there were other people who I actually got to know a whole group of people through this weird thing called Morris dancing, which is a kind of English folk dancing. You might have seen it. It does happen a little bit in America. They wave the hankies, hats with flowers on, bells, that kind of weird dancing.
Sounds like something I could get behind.
Yeah. You'd love it, man. So it's a big folk tradition in this country, and it's often associated with alcohol. Most of the dancing we do is around pubs and celebrations and things like that. Okay. So part of the reason I started was because, we'd go out drinking, in the afternoon, sometimes even in the morning. So it was an excuse for me to drink heavily. And when I stopped drinking, I was like, well, am I going to continue doing it? Because it was just a way of justifying my drinking a little bit. But what I discovered was that I actually like the people that I dance with, even Dave. And I actually, I enjoy the dancing, and I enjoy the tradition. I enjoy the heritage and the community. There's so much more to that than simply the alcohol. I thought it was about the alcohol, but actually it was about people and dancing. I love dancing. Absolutely
fellowship.
Love dancing. Yeah. So I think that's what a lot of people find is that, yeah, there are people in their lives who it's all about the alcohol and you have nothing else in common. Drop them. That's my advice. Drop them. But a lot of the people
that's the only thing, right?
Yeah,
makes
a lot of the
sense.
people who you drink with, you actually have much more in common than just the alcohol. So it's about reclaiming what's important in your life, what actually gives your life meaning and purpose, and realizing that the alcohol is, it's just something that floats around the edges. It is definitely not central to your relationships.
Exactly right. Now, what's the name of that dancing again?
It's called Morris dancing.
Morris, I knew it sounded familiar. Actually, I'm going to start taking some Morris dancing classes at a place over near you. You ever heard of the Tavern Rest?
No.
That was a sneaky way of me throwing in some. What town are you from?
I'm from Abingdon, which is a little town outside Oxford.
Well, that was some Abingdon trivia. The Tavern Rest is your oldest restaurant only.
Oh, there we go.
Better hope they're not watching. They're going to
We
charge you
better.
double if you
Yeah.
ever go there. Yes, opened in 1779.
There we go.
Yeah, did you know that? Do you know the
No.
meaning? Do you know
Learn-
the meaning of your town's name?
No. Go on then. I'm learning a lot here. This is
It means
great.
Abba's Hill.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
it's a
well,
very,
we used to have an abbey until Henry VIII came along and closed them all down and stole all of the gold.
see, that's
which
why I
is-
didn't bring that part up, because I knew you'd know that. They teach you that in kindergarten. I said all this other stuff. I said, I'm gonna stump him, right? So let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. I love the title, and let's talk about how you got to it. Tell people, real men quit.
Yeah, so the thing about the sober sphere, the kind of the communities around stopping drinking, is there tends to be a lot of women in them, and I've got no truck with that. It is great. People like Annie Grace, Holly Willoughby, they're doing Claire Pooley. They're doing amazing work, and I'm a big fan of their writing. I'm a big fan of all of the stuff that they're doing, but they speak more to women than they do to men. And for me, that is a problem because men drink more than women. That is not my opinion. That is a fact according to the UN. If you serve 4 drinks, 3 of them are going to be drunk by a man, 1 of them is going to be drunk by a woman. So we do more drinking. We have more problems with alcohol, yet we ask for help less. And I mean, I don't just mean that because I'm sure you know men aren't that great at asking for help, but we ask for help less, particularly in terms of recovery. So we're 2 to 3 times more likely to be drinking, but about 5 times less likely to end up in recovery. So I wanted to do something that spoke to the men out there and helped them with their recovery.
Sorry, senior moment. I'm like, oh Lord. Hey, that was the first one on the first day back after you guys.
You're always allowed 1 or 2 on the
Thank
first
you.
day.
Thank you so much, Duncan. I knew I was the reason I had you on today. What I want to say is this is when you're working with people, do you work with men and women as a sober coach? Because I didn't want people to think because of what you just said that you only work with men. If you work with women and men, how's that work?
No, I work with everybody. I'm more focused on your journey than my map. So yeah, I absolutely tailor what I do to the person who sat in front of me. And the thing is, I wrote Real Men Quit to appeal to men. So the jokes are pretty bad. There's references to sport. There's references to Star Wars. But actually, what I've found is there are even a few women who've read it and they quite like it, and they found it useful as well. So it's kind of what I wanted to do was something that spoke to men, because I don't think there's enough stuff out there. But I'm definitely equal opportunities in as far
Or that can help women speak to their men.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think. What's the best way of increasing communication amongst men and women? Well, for some of the men that I've met, it is helping them to stop drinking, because that certainly massively got in the way of my communication.
Can I ask, what about this one? When people that just saw your link on the screen, and we're going to show it again here in a few minutes, you guys, and we're going to drop them both, by the way, in the comments for you on YouTube, so that you can have access to them at the conclusion of today's show. What about people that think, well, isn't a sober coach, the same as me getting a sponsor through AA? What's the difference?
So I would encourage people to find somebody to help them walk along that path. Now, coaches vary. Some are good, some aren't so good. And I know that the same is true of sponsors in AA. You know, a really good sponsor is going to help you find your own path, help you think through the problems that you have around alcohol, help you find a way for you to stay sober. And that's all a really good coach is going to do. In fact, it's all a really good friend is going to do, or a minister, or a sports coach even. You know, that somebody who is in your life who has your best interest at heart and is going to give you the environment for you to think your way through your problems. That is one of the things that I think is so critical in sobriety, life, relationships, business.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I wanted to ask you, in your opinion, what have you seen working better for folks? A cold turkey plan, cut it off at the head, or an installment plan? Ease it down just a little until it's gone.
So the way I almost always work with people is that we begin the process and they don't stop drinking. They continue drinking whilst we're working through the process. And what tends to happen is by the end of it, they are pretty much sick and tired of drinking and they're only too happy to stop. And that's, in my opinion, a much more effective way than stopping and then doing the work. But that is my opinion. There are various shades of opinion in the sober community. That said, I do have to mention occasionally there are people who do need to have a managed withdrawal from alcohol. I've worked with quite a lot of people, and I've only really worked with one person who actually really needed that managed withdrawal. So we did a tailored withdrawal, tapering down of alcohol. That is important from a medical point of view. It tends to be people who are either drinking very, very heavily. So this particular individual was drinking about 4 bottles of wine over a 24-hour period. I'm not going to say a day because days did not have much meaning in their lives. They also had underlying health problems. They also had a previous issue with benzodiazepine, which is a kind of medication which works very similar. It follows very similar neural pathways to alcohol, so that complicates things. They also had problems withdrawing from alcohol in the past. So if you have any of those things, very, very heavy drinking, underlying health problems, previous benzo addiction, or previous problems withdrawing, then absolutely you must have a medically managed withdrawal process.
I was going to say the detoxing process is a tightrope walk for a lot of people. You got to have people there to watch and this and the other because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, so the vast majority of people that stop drinking don't actually have any major withdrawal problems. I think it's about 96% of people. So there's a lot of misunderstanding about this. You know, the most common recovery method is recovering without any formal support. So about 46% of people that stop drinking without any formal support. They don't do AA, they don't go to rehab, they don't even go and see their doctor. They just use what one of my friends calls the stubborn XXX method kind of thing. They just stop. So the vast majority of people don't actually have withdrawal problems. If you are at all concerned, then clearly you should consult a physician. Though there are some really great diagnostic tools out there developed by the World Health Organization. One that I use, if you go onto my website, the first thing you'll see is the maybe drink a little bit less quiz. If you fill that out, it will give you an idea of where your drinking is at, and that will give you a bit more of an idea of whether you should be seeking really intensive inpatient therapy or whether kind of like outpatient stuff is right for you.
Now, what you just described, is that one of the two that we see on the screen right now? Is that where they go?
So if you go to, that's my Instagram account. If you go to that, we talk about the Maybe Drink a Little Less quiz quite a lot. There's a link in the link tree on that as well. So yeah, you can do that. Although the other one, getover.uk. just put getover.uk into the internet, and that will take you to a bit where you can get a copy of Get Over Indulgence, my first book, my little journey thing. Give you PDF, EPUB. You can also listen to it if you can stand my awful voice for 3 hours. Although you could listen to it quicker, and then I'll be gone even faster. Anyway, that will take you to a bit on our website where you can click the link. So that takes you to bhaskaranbrown.com. On the homepage is the Maybe Drink a Little Less quiz. Do that. It will tell you where your drinking is and give you a bit of an idea about maybe what you should do about it.
So here's a personal question, Duncan. We just all experienced a little over a week ago the turning of a new year. Big celebration day or night, as it will be, or both for a lot of people around the world. What did you do? And where were you? Were you around people that were consuming alcohol? I'm getting at what you do on those days that are, like here in the United States in a couple of weeks, Super Bowl will be. And that's
I'm big fan of the Super Bowl. I'll be staying up very, very late. In fact, I always used to, I've been an NFL fan for 15 years, something like that.
Okay.
And I always used to stay up for the Super Bowl when I was drinking. And the thing was, it's quite late in the UK. And I'd be like, oh yeah, big day, Super Bowl. Yeah, we'll have a drink. I'd be asleep by halftime. It was total rubbish. Always used to ruin the Super Bowl for me. I'd kind of like wake up in the middle of the night, blurrily staring at the TV and figuring out who won. But these days, because I have so much more energy, I actually can stay up and watch the entire game and really, really enjoy it. So yeah, celebrations are a little bit different for me. Your original question was about New Year. I spent it with my wife and my daughter. We played Monopoly and I lost.
So curiously, because a lot of people, I don't know how I feel about that. I know for me, it was a push me, pull me situation. I had a zero tolerance plan for the first 3 or 4 years of my sobriety. I didn't have people in my phone that I used to party with. People that still partook in it. Fine, do your thing, but I can't be around it. I can't even have you available to call me. And then after that, when I had enough traction under me, I started being able to reincorporate myself into things, and it didn't bother me. I'm saying I didn't go to places where people drank, because oftentimes they get drunk. Like, hey, you want to go out in the parking lot and do this? So I stayed away. But now even so, it's all these years later, like 17 years later, I'm grateful that I had that plan. So we're getting close to the wrap here. We got about 3 minutes left. I'm going to let you just take it and just speak into a person what about some red flags that a person may not even realize? Because a denial piece is a big piece. It keeps a lot of us from making the moves you've described all hour long. So what are some of the red flags? Even if it's not you, but someone that you care about, what could be some red flags that you might want to start looking into a way to start reeling them back in?
Yeah, so I think you don't necessarily need to change your life when you stop drinking. I mean, some of it will happen naturally, like we talked about. Some of those people that you have nothing in common with, you will stop talking to them. But I like to sort of think about it as changing the way you feel about alcohol. So when I was drinking, going to the pub, it was like going to a strip club. It was full of temptations. It was something that would get me kind of excited, and I would then have to drink if I was in the pub. But once I changed my desire, once I changed my attitude towards drinking, I no longer want to drink. I no longer have any desire to consume alcohol. It just does not tempt me. So going to the pub these days is much more like going to the zoo. It's kind of interesting, but it's really not exciting the way a strip club is.
That's awesome. Again, on the screen are 2 roads in which you can continue the dialogue with Duncan. And not just about what you've heard here today. There's a whole bunch of other content there that you're going to find very rewarding in a number of ways if you go over and check it out, and I hope you will. Anything we need to know about coming up that we can support you in, or follow you to coming up in Q1 of this year?
Yeah, so we've got an event at the end of January designed to help people who've been doing dry January or are just a little bit curious about how they can make the most of not drinking. So that's a big bit about enjoying not drinking throughout 2024. We've got a few business events coming up towards the end of this quarter. We're doing more and more stuff with companies these days, going in and helping them to help their employees to be more productive, to be more focused, to have more energy by getting control of their drinking. So we've got a few things about why your company might be spending a lot of money on well-being and why it's not necessarily working.
Great. And any didn't you say there was a freebie?
Yeah. So go to getover.uk. That'll take you to my website. You can click on either the PDF EPUB version or the audiobook version of Get Over Indulgence. It's a great way of getting started. As you can see, it's quite thin. It's pretty short. It's not as funny as you, but it does have jokes.
Oh, that's funny. Listen, I love what you're doing, and I love the way you are doing it. Keep up the great work. We want to give you the turnstile invitation, if you will, Duncan, which means you're welcome back anytime.
Oh, thank you.
Whenever there's something you think that we can help you, spread the word about, reach in and we'll get you back on the show. Do you have a podcast?
Yeah, so we do one called Flat Pack Sober, which is your catalogue of tips, tricks, and tactics to design your sober life. It's where I interview the sober superstars, and I'm kind of getting the impression that you might make quite a good guest for it.
Well, I never say no to a good podcast, so let me know, and I'll be happy to come over and assist.
That'd be perfect. Yeah. We're just wrapping up season 1 at the moment. We've done the thick end of 30 episodes, but we haven't released as many of them as we perhaps should. So I will get you on for season 2.
Thank
when
you.
We really hit the big time.
Looking forward to it. Thank you so much, and Happy New Year to you. Looking forward to all the great things that are around the corner for you and for you out there. Listen, thank you for being patient over the last couple of weeks watching reruns. We are not on Facebook for another couple of weeks. We're here because we're trying to do some things on these platforms. And so just stay tuned, stay in the loop, and listen, get out there today and seek whatever it is you need to find your highest self. It's out there. It's finding you, whether you believe it or not. And when you two come together, you'll see spiritual magic. It's a wonderful thing. Now get out of here. Have the best day ever. Get out and seek some way to ease some suffering somewhere in the world. You'll be glad you did. And I promise I'll meet you, God willing, right over there on the front porch tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Central, where together again, we can create another divine moment in time through inspired and illuminated conversation. Get out. And remember, I don't let my screen door slam on the way out. And as always, I love you. And there ain't a damn thing you can do about it. See you tomorrow. Bye, everybody. Duncan, great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Goodbye, everybody.
Show me your soul. Baby, I'll show you mine. Show me your soul. Honey, it's way past time. How expensive do I have to be? Need I spell it out before you get